There's no question that pics from the 70s have a certain energy that can't be overlooked. You feel almost teleported into the scene and you can't look away. And why would you want to anyway? We've come across some pictures from a few decades ago that perfectly highlight how different the world was in the 1970s. Pictures like these, with all their inescapable beauty, can have a tremendous effect on someone. They can shift your perspective for the better, especially if it's your first time gazing at them. Each photo you're about to see has a little hidden treasure you'll probably overlook if you're not paying attention. What may look like a very ordinary picture of Lynda Carter actually has layers of depth that you'd probably miss unless you knew what to look for, although we suspect that some eyes will pick up on what we're talking about pretty quickly. Be fairly warned, however, these beauties aren't for younger audiences' eyes. Facts First presents 70s photos only for mature audiences. Before we gaze longingly upon some of the most beautiful snapshots of the 70s, make sure you show us a little support by giving us a like and subscribing to our channel. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications. Jamie Lee Curtis and Janet Leigh at Studio 54. It's gotta be trying to be the daughter of a celebrity mom, especially when you're a celebrity too. When Jamie Lee Curtis was rising to fame in the 70s and 80s, she managed to kindle a friendship with her mother. I mean, it doesn't hurt that both of them were superstars of iconic horror film fame. Jamie Lee Curtis once said of Lee, following her passing, that her mother, whom she called by her given name, Jeanette Helen, had done a great job of raising her, and although the world knew her by a different name, she would always be Jeanette Helen to her. Lynda Carter hanging out in '76. Even though she was the subject of every teenage boy's dream and likely was on every one of their walls back then, thanks to her success as Wonder Woman, Lynda Carter was also a symbol of female empowerment. She got her start as a pageant queen and as a backup singer, but she gained traction in the film industry by playing the iconic Amazonian princess with an affinity for taking down bad guys and putting a stop to criminal activity. She never set out to be a sex symbol. She wanted to go on the screen being a strong, empowered woman. She wasn't against men, but she did stand for things like fair play and fair pay. Susan Sarandon as Hattie in Pretty Baby. Susan has always been all over the place when it comes to her roles. She has incredible range. She can tenderly play romantic roles that'll tug at your heartstrings, as well as playing frightening heavy hitters. In the case of the film Pretty Baby, she masterfully embodied the persona of a woman on the edge of a nervous breakdown. She counts the setting of the film for some of the intensity she channeled into her role. The New Orleans house that the movie was filmed in was said to be haunted. She also, unfortunately, experienced a bout with pneumonia during principal filming. Interestingly, the house that was used for the flick was going to be torn down, but thanks to the production team's contributions to the building's structural integrity and cosmetic appearance, it was saved. 21-year-old Madonna. When this photo was taken, she had no greater desire than to perform in front of millions of people. When she was growing up, she wanted to be a dancer, but she also enjoyed acting in her friends' movies. She came from a large family. She was the oldest of 8 kids. Her parents struggled to keep up with such a large brood. That meant Madonna had to babysit, cook, clean, and take care of her little brothers and sisters while her parents were at work trying to provide for the family. She took on so much responsibility, but it also built character. Tanya Roberts in a very cleverly placed loincloth. Although she never experienced major success, she did have a cult following of fans for her work on the Bond film, Tourist Trap, and the original Beastmaster flick, where this racy photo comes from. Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland. Look at these two groovy cats. Was there any cooler couple around back then? We think not. After the couple hooked up and got hitched, Bronson made sure Ireland always played his on-screen romances just to avoid creating any rifts between each other. They loved each other dearly, which is evident by the fact that they remained together from 1968 to 1990 when Jill passed away in her Malibu home. Even then, Bronson carried her with him always, quite literally in fact, putting her ashes into a cane that he carried until he himself was buried with it in 2003. If that's not a love story, we don't know what is. Farrah Fawcett and Jaclyn Smith on the Charlie's Angels set. When the Angels debuted in '76, nobody expected the show to experience such a meteoric rise in popularity and become the cultural sensation it became. The original Angels, Fawcett, Smith, and Kate Jackson, had become household names overnight. Even though Smith would be the only original Angel to see the show through to completion, the three women remained friends. Christie Brinkley, 1978. Christie was successful at one thing in particular in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that was making heads turn. She might have started off her career in the world of modeling by being some doe-eyed surfer girl from California, but there was something about her that set her apart from the rest and paved the way for her to become one of the most iconic supermodels of her time, and that was her curves. Ann-Margret shamelessly posing for the camera. Her career arguably peaked in the 50s and 60s, but from the look of this pic, she was still going strong and making the world blush in the decades that followed. She exuded such confidence. If she wanted to sing a song, she'd blow us all away with her angelic voice. If she wanted to look amazing while riding through the desert on a motorcycle, she would. If she wanted to act alongside Elvis in a major blockbuster film, then she'd nail it. She consistently gave us the goods, and even in the 70s, she managed to gain the acclaim of critics for her role in Carnal Knowledge. A very wet Lynda Carter on TV's Battle of the Network Stars. Millions were glued to their TV sets in 1976 to watch Lynda Carter, Farrah Fawcett, Penny Marshall, and Ron Howard duke it out in Olympic-style games against other actors and actresses. The show was a massive hit, but we think that this Wonder Woman star had something to do with it. Don't stare too long, you might break something. Raquel Welch on Dick Cavett Show. Typically, Dick would interview artsy types and rock legends like David Bowie and John Lennon, but Raquel Welch could hold her own in the fascinating conversation department. She appeared on the show to promote her film Myra Breckenridge, which was a major departure from her previous films. Jacqueline Bisset during the filming of The Deep. Don't write Bisset off as just being some kind of movie babe thrown into films for her sex appeal and breathtaking looks. She actually took her work on screen very seriously. When she was involved in a film, she'd commit to it 100%. She described her work on films as being something that consumed her existence and became her primary focus. Brigitte Bardot making us wish we were that towel. Bardot was a legend in the 50s and 60s. She managed to capture the attention of the world's lustful eyes while professionally putting out amazing performances for decades that set a precedent that's still being tapped into by actresses today. She starred in 47 films and recorded 60 songs before retiring in the 70s. She went on to start the Foundation for the Protection of Distressed Animals and has been using her status as an icon to help her cause ever since. Hugh Hefner and a Couple of Bunnies. Hef certainly lived a rich life. If there was anyone else that was living it up more than him in the 70s, we'd love to know who they are. When this photo was taken in 1977, he was running his iconic magazine, hosting SNL, gallivanting across the globe with beautiful women, and living in the beautiful Gothic Tudor Revival-style Playboy mansion. Cheryl Tiegs, 1977. Whether it was from the cover of Sports Illustrated, seductive posters such as this one, or through the lens of the TV screen, Tiegs looked out at us and demanded our attention. She was by far one of the most desired models of her generation. Raquel Welch, 1971. In this publicity photo for the film Hannie Calder, there's no denying Welch's appeal. Throughout her career, she had a wide range of roles. She played mythological creatures. She even once tempted Ringo Starr. How could anyone resist her? In the film that she did this sultry shoot for, she played a woman who sought revenge against a group of old-timey criminals in the Wild Wild West. She worked alongside a bounty hunter who showed her the ropes of shooting and horseback riding before she set out on her own solo mission. Spoiler alert, she gets her revenge and looks damn good doing it. Madeline Smith posing with her bike. You may have seen her in Live and Let Die, or perhaps Taste the Blood of Dracula. She appeared in a lot of B-movies when she was younger, but never regretted those roles. She enjoyed working on horror films, but it was comedy that truly piqued her interest. Unfortunately, we have to wrap this video up. We'd love to share more of these amazing 70s gems, but now it's time to hear from you. Who do you think would win in a fight between Wonder Woman and the Charlie's Angel, Farrah Fawcett? The question might seem obvious, but what if the playing field was leveled, as in Wonder Woman was stripped of her powers, or if Farrah was granted some? Let us know what you think in the comments section. And before you go, make sure you give us a like and subscribe to our channel.